Welcome to your best bets. Thanksgiving week podcast is here. We've been trying to record this one for at least 2 weeks. Uh, my issue with some personal stuff, so we're finally made it around Sunday night of Thanksgiving week, and we're doing this. We are going to talk about over unders in the major golf world. It wasn't a whole episode, but we ran this in April of 2022. It was pretty much right after Scotty Scheffler won the Masters, and we did over under on like 7 or 8 players. We're going to expand that out to a full episode and really throw a lot more guys in than we did the first time around. Uh, Joining me, of course, is Johnny Strouser and Zach Fitzgerald. Zach, first of all, you're back from your big hunting trip. I've never hunted. People would probably expect me to never have hunted, but sounds like it's right up your alley. You did pretty well.
I enjoy shooting guns. Growing up, I hunted with my father, so I had got a few deer in my teens, and really hadn't hunted in probably 20 or so years, and got an opportunity to go to Missouri, and was lucky enough to shoot one and get some meat, which was the goal. So successful trip. Got to hang out with my dad for a while, which really I think is the best part of it, and yeah, it was a great time.
Was that near the Ozarks?
No, we were on the north central side, so complete opposite. I was probably a good 4 hours away from that. St. Louis is probably like 3.5 hours away from where we were, and Kansas City is probably like 90 minutes.
I just needed a reference point. One of my favorite shows ever.
Yeah, yeah, excellent
Yeah,
show, and
excellent
and
show.
and I've driven through there before and like seen it and never really gotten to like investigate much, but it's a beautiful area. I mean, they do a good job
Yeah,
of showing it on the show, and certainly a place I'd like to investigate a little bit more.
yeah, yeah. Ruth, all time TV character ever. Johnny
Yeah.
has no idea because he pretty much doesn't watch television ever. But yeah, Ozark, strong recommendation there. Johnny, welcome. I have nothing clever to say, but good to see you.
Good to be seen. Good to be talking a little bit of golf here. We finally ended the PGA Tour season. The I guess the fall series or whatever it is, and got the announcement that that Tiger is healthy and going to play in the Hero and presumably the PNC. And I'm actually quite excited about the Hero coming up here and seeing
Yeah,
how he looks because he's been walking a lot of golf with his son Charlie, and looks like he's been grinding away at it and feels comfortable enough to play. So that's cool. That's good stuff. Nice little pre Christmas post Thanksgiving treat that we're gonna get here.
uh, and Johnny, you asked me last night if our one topic was truly going to be one topic, and I said yes. But just a slight detour with the Hero. Did you guys think it's interesting that Xander and Cantley both withdrew their name from the Hero and they were replaced? Is there something there? Is there like a smoke? Where there's smoke, there's fire. Am I looking too far into it?
No.
I don't think you're looking too far into. I think they're. I don't know if they're defecting to live. I, I I don't know. I mean, I've seen the Twitter or the X rumors that they're in the process of acquiring one guy of pretty good stature. So the fact that they're both there could be something. I mean, I don't know. I think Patrick Cantley's proven that he is a corporate guy that is going to do what's best for his bank account, and that's basically it. That's what he's all about. And I think Xander, who he may not have been, he never was perceived as that way. I think with him being best buds with Cantley, I think he's kind of in that same boat. So you never know. But yeah, it is kind of peculiar that I didn't hear anything about it. That they happened to withdraw the same day Tiger committed and everything, and it's like, wow, that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of interesting. I think there's more that we're going to see in the coming months, whether it's December or whatever. But got to think it could lead to something.
I
And there seems to be a disconnect somewhere ever since Cantley and Xander were talking about not getting paid enough for the Ryder Cup, which to me I mean, I think they get paid a lot of money, and I'm never going to tell a man that he shouldn't want something or need something. But the Ryder Cups kind of always seemed like an honor to me, so I didn't even realize that they necessarily got paid for that. I just kind of thought, you made the team and got your hotel and whatnot paid for, and some sponsorship deals obviously come from that. But I was unaware that they made a certain amount of money for that. So to me, that would just be an honor to represent your team. So I'm not sure that money would be my biggest factor in the Ryder Cup.
Right. Especially after you just made probably double digits,
Sure.
millions, like, right. And Johnny and I talked about this the last podcast, I think, with said, how much money do you think Max Homa gains in new sponsorships just by his performance and his charisma? That's where these guys should be looking. I just thought it was interesting because Xander and Cantley can't wipe their own ass without each other. So I figure this might be a package deal when if they do leave the tour and go to live, it might be together. Um, and the only other thing besides what we're going to talk about this podcast was Crushers GC. I saw today they're bringing back their whole championship winning team, which I thought was huge. Paul Casey, Charles Howell, Bryson. Just I'm pretty excited about Crushers. I might see about getting a hat next year for Live 24.
So, which one was the Richard Bland? What team does he? Was he he wasn't the Crushers, was he?
No, the
Did you
fourth
see the
member of the
video of him recommitting?
yes, yes.
Yeah, like that was like a hostage situation. I thought that was like, dude, just like blink twice if if you've been in, if your life's in danger or something like that. That was like the worst
Indeed.
video I've ever seen and stuff. But I was very excited for whatever team he signed for because I've always been a fan of that team for I don't know 20, 30 years right now so far. So just a good re-signing with Dick Bland.
Yeah, Blandy. Yeah,
I
yeah.
assumed you guys were making fun of something that you told me was not gonna last 6 months. So, I'm glad that we're still talking about it 18 months later.
Listen, I said there was some air
Oh
some errors of what I've said before. I've said I was wrong in certain areas. I still
And
stand by some of what I say.
while I was wrong about a lot of things, we cannot deny the impact this has had on the PGA Tour. The
oh
PGA Tour is a shell of what it used to be with the people that they've lost, and Live is nowhere close to what the PGA Tour used to be either. So really, it's not been great for golf, but at the same time, you can't really also say that Phil was necessarily wrong about most of the things that he said. Once Lived happened, all of a sudden these preferred events and all this money was starting to come around. And hindsight being 2020, maybe he didn't go about it correctly, but he was correct. I mean, he's a scoundrel. There's no doubt about it. But he's that doesn't make him not right.
Million% agree. Million% agree. I can still laugh at some of the Live
Sure,
um, I don't know,
sure.
universe type stuff.
you,
Which by the way, the TGL, this stuff I think is hugely laughable, and I mean that's a PGA
yeah.
Tour product, and I've been shuddering at some of the stuff that's come out. Like, oh, this is not good. The Colin Morikawa video, and there's just a lot of. Well, maybe we should do a TGL episode and be like, who is this for? Because I don't really get who it's
Well,
for, and
you you had made a comment about in a text message between the three of us that the Ryder Cup coverage was atrocious, and really the only way to save it might be, a NFL Sunday Ticket or like a red zone type
mm,
coverage. And I don't disagree with you but that does that not kind of model what Live is doing, where they're just showing shot after shot after shot after shot. And I don't disagree with you. I don't think Live is better than the PGA Tour by any means. I still think the PGA Tour is a better product, but if somehow they can come together and bring the good parts of Live that they've learned, maybe a little less downtime, maybe a little bit more. Like I thought that your idea was fantastic. I mean, if you had like uh, a red zone type environment where they're showing all the awesome aspects, obviously it's not going to be as many, but I think that's a great idea.
well, or like Red Zone and with YouTube TV, not Red Zone, but just Sunday Ticket with YouTube TV, you can do the quad box and you can pretty much select your games. Just think of it like that for a Sunday afternoon on PJ Tour where you have, you could say a couple feature groups, or I mean, and in some ways ESPN Plus has that now, but I just want it to be a little bit better package than it is now. Um, um, I just got what I needed in the NFL game. Thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah,
you,
I
thank
saw
you,
that.
thank you, thank you. Um,
Congratulations.
thank you. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about, and I think with PGA Tour versus there's a lot upcoming. Johnny sent me something on X, formerly known as Twitter, that there's a lot of question marks that are around the future of certain tournaments with how lucrative these purses have become and what the PGA Tour is asking these tournaments to do. So probably another podcast or two for the next month or two, since golf will be a bit dead besides the Hero. Um, let's get into this though, guys. We first talked about this with again in 2022 after Scotty won his first Masters, and I think we were just like, okay, let's. Zach hosted that show, and he threw out some numbers for Johnny and I to go off of, and it was a lot of fun. But I really looked at everyone's numbers the last week or so, where they're at major wise, what their age is, and try to set a good number for you guys to work off of here. And I think it's just a good discussion point because we're in the middle of a lot of these guys' careers that have won multiple majors, and it's kind of time to see where everyone's going to end up. Who's going to have the most majors of this generation? That's another question. Brooks looks to be like a solid bet at that, right now, but things change quickly in the golf landscape. I'm going to surprise you guys by leading off with someone that I didn't expect to lead off with, but with what's occurred today at the RSM Classic, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least put this guy somewhere in our discussion point. And by the way, we're going to try to do this in a rapid fire fashion, so a minute on each of these guys, so we can get through a lot. Ludwig Bear, I have set the bar at 1.5 majors. Ludwig Bear is 24 years old. I think he is a future number one in the world. I think he's the next European star. 1.5 majors over under Zach Fitzgerald.
I have not seen him play enough, but I've heard a lot. I know that he strikes the ball well. If you're saying he's going to be a future number one, that's going to come with more than one major. I will trust you, considering the bet that you just won, and take the over.
Okay. Ludwig Bear, NCAA champion, Ryder Cup rookie. Johnny, 1.5 majors over under.
I think I got to lean to the over on this one. I think based on what just what other PGA Tour golfers who've played with him this fall, and after he got promoted from PGA Tour U, when collectively guys who are that good at golf talk about another guy who's that good at golf, and they say that he's head and shoulders above the rest as far as ball striking and total game. I mean, it's a safe bet to say over. Not going to give too many overs, I don't think today, but this one guy, I think the sky is literally the limit. This guy could be, if he wanted to, could be one of the better European players, potentially in history based on how he looks. And just real quick, I won't talk this much on the other guys, but the fact that the week after the Ryder Cup, he had committed to the tournament in Jackson, Mississippi, because he wanted to get his PGA Tour card full time. He went there, played in that tournament, and he's played in just about every single event here. So there's a
Right.
commitment that seems to be that he wants to be great, wants to play on this tour, and I think that I think we're going to see a budding superstar here.
Agreed. Um, he's had a couple top fives this fall. I don't know where his world ranking is after today, but I think it's probably in the top 40. I mean, this guy just, I mean, he just started playing professional tournaments in the summer. It's a pretty impressive ascension. I think he's a generational driver of the ball. I mean, I watched some of the RSM. I mean, he just hits it so good off the tee, and I don't even think he's hit his irons that particularly great so far. I think he's just going to get better and better. I really do think he will be number one in the world at some point in his career. So I'm going to hit the over as well. I don't know where I'll end up, but um, over 1.5 feels appropriate. Next, I have Cameron Smith. Cameron Smith has won one major tournament. He won the 2022 Open, of course, at St. Andrews last summer. I've set his over under at 1.5 majors. Johnny.
I'm gonna go under on that. I think that's his one and done. It could change if they merge with Live and allow the guys to play the tour again and everything like that. But I think he got his bag, and I know he wants to do great and everything, but it's so hard to so hard to win major championships, and he's not a great driver of the golf ball, and he's an excellent putter. But we've seen guys who've putted really really well in a season, and then they just can't seem to make them. So I'd pretty safely bet the under.
Okay. Zach?
Over. You can't putt as well as he does and not fall into another one potentially. He's still young. Had you said 2.5, I probably take the under, but I do think he just falls into another one with how well he puts.
And by the way, if you guys feel like I'm just way off on a line, you can call me on it, and that's fine. Um, I struggle with this one. I agree with both of you, but I'm gonna side with Johnny overall and go under. There's a little bit of shades of Jason Day to his game. Jason Day 2015, 2016, when Jason Day made everything. And then now Jason Day's made a resurgence, which is great. I guess it's great. I just I mean, does anyone really like Jason Day? I don't
I do.
know.
I
Of course you do. I don't trust Cam's ball striking. He's a very erratic driver. He did improve his iron play quite a bit. I just to me that the putting just overall he'll be the best putter in the world for the next couple of years. I just wonder if his window was truly a couple of years. I don't know. I could be way off on Cam. I mean, really like watching him. Really fun to watch, and he plays a style that's so different than everyone else. That I hope he does stick around. He has staying power, but I have him at under 1.5. Next, this is um, my favorite guy to discuss. Colin Morikawa. He has two major wins. He won the 2020 PGA. He won the 2021 Open. The last time we did this, Colin Morikawa was one of the guys that was on our discussion lists. Zach set him at 5.5 majors, and Johnny said well over. Zach said well over. I actually went under. I believe Johnny, and I quote, I wrote this down. Colin will end up with 7 or 8 majors for sure.
Well, you
Oh,
got to break the receipts, man.
I had to. I was dying. I'm like, wait, what? Johnny, Mister Conservative, handing out majors. He gave Morikawa 8. Um, I just that was a good exercise to go back in time and look at. All right, so Colin's got 2. He's 26 years old. I set his over under at 3.5 majors. Zach,
I mean, obviously, I'm going over.
still feeling good.
Well, I mean, I think at one point I said he's going to have 10. He he has to get his putting down, obviously. But again, I think that he strikes the ball well enough. I would have questioned his want, but it seems like he's pretty pissed off himself one of the time he's not playing well. So I don't really know that I question that. I'm going to be that guy that says over on most people because you guys are pessimists and I'm an optimist. So it's kind of always going to be that way.
That's not
I'm going to
true.
say,
That's not
well,
true
I
at
mean,
all.
in everything but my own life. So um, I would say over.
Okay, so you're still feeling Colin overall. I mean, obviously,
I
there's been a
mean, again, I think if you say like five, maybe we're talking then, but I can't go, 18 months ago from, 10 to being scared of 3.5. I'm not
yeah.
willing to step it back that far.
Is 3.5 too low? You think that's one too low for the bar?
No, I mean, I think it's really hard to win majors. I just think that in my head, I have this fascination with Morikawa and how well he strikes the ball, and the thought
Totally.
that golf is like a roller coaster, and there are times when people struggle, and then there's going to be a period where he gets his confidence back, and he's a world beater again for another 18 months, and maybe wins two majors in that period. So, uh,
Okay. Johnny, where are you at? The last time we talked about Morikawa, you had him at 7 or 8. Where are you at today?
I would definitely bet the over on that. I still think he's got a couple, and completely agree with Zach's reasoning as well. I mean, you got times in your life where you're good at golf. You got times in your life when you just can't get shit in the hole. And we look at his ball striking numbers, and they're as good as they've ever been. It's just he can't convert and can't putt consistently. But I've always, since he came out and was very successful, since he started playing, he seems like a guy who's smart enough to make adjustments, but make smart adjustments, not just because it feels right, or he thinks it feels right. I mean, he's made equipment adjustments as needed, and I think it's still there. And it's just one of those things that, what, he hit the ball so great. Could have won a couple times this year, two or three times, I think, at least, PJ Tour events, and he still hits it as good as anybody on the planet. So you know what, I'm still confident that he's going to win a couple more. Yeah, will I back off of 8? Yes, I will. I still think, though, I think if you gave me 4.5, that would make it interesting to see if he could get to 5. But I think he's going to be one of those guys still that I think, ends with 5 or 6 throughout the course of his career. And with him only being in his mid 20s, I mean, he's still got time on his side.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, I know guys are just getting better as it goes on, but I'm still sticking with the over. But yeah, we're not 7. If you give me 7.5, I'm not taking the over like I said before. So
I'll make this pretty short. I would still go over as well. I would go over 3.5. There's definitely some questions I have with Zach. You mentioned that the putting is streaky. He may have turned a corner at the end of the year. He just won in the fall. I do feel like there's at times where he's a dome golfer. I don't know if I trust him in conditions. I don't. It's astonishing he won an Open, but I think what I remember of that week, it was pretty calm. Um,
mhm.
it just doesn't seem like he can handle wind and those kind of things as well as some other guys. I don't know if that'll hurt him over the next 10 years of majors. I mean, strokes gained approach. He's been top 5 since he's come on tour. That's stayed this way even in the 2 years where he didn't win. Young enough, seems like he has a high IQ. So yeah, 4 seems about right for Morikawa, which is it's a lot of majors. That's a shit ton of majors. Next on the list, I have Matthew Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick has won one major. He won the 2022 United States Open. Uh, great, great win over our guys at Will Zalatoris. Johnny and I's guy, Will Zalatoris. Let me say that.
Yeah.
Matt Fitzpatrick is 29 years old. I have him at his over under at 1.5 majors. Johnny.
Ooh, one more major. If I had to bet my own money that mattered to me, I would bet the under. But I would hate that bet. Again, like you said, it's hard to win a major. The guy's got the game, and he's a great putter, and he's tough as nails. And when he gets the ball going in the direction he wants it to go, when he's hitting it well, he's a supreme player. And then having that confidence of winning that U.S. Open at the Country Club there, that's something that I think, to be a little contrarian, I'm going to say no, but again, I would, that'd be a stay away bet for me. He could very well win really any one of the majors. I mean, he can hit it long enough, he can putt well enough. He's cross-handed chipper, but he's a real good chipper of the golf ball. You know, um, under, but not feeling it.
I'm going to take the under on this. I think there's only so many majors to go around. I can't say over for everybody, and um, he had some great shots coming down there. I just don't think that necessarily, and this is hard for me to say as a guy that doesn't have power. I think that game's a lot predicated on power, and I just don't think that he necessarily has enough to compete at all times. He got his major, and he's competed in other ones, but with the names that I know we have coming up, I'm going to favor them in the majors, certainly over him. And on a note, I think Aaron Donald just killed Geno Smith. So that was an insane hit that I just saw out of the corner of my eye. So, but when we're talking about Fitzpatrick, I would go under.
But over on Geno Smith deaths today. Okay, that's good.
Geno Smith is definitely in the tent, and I bet that was one of the most terrifying things of his life, looking up and seeing Aaron Donald moving that fast towards you.
Wasn't it the game earlier this season when Gino saw Aaron Donald coming at him and he said like, "Oh shit" or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So near death experience earlier in the season that now finally came.
Yeah.
Sorry, I only have one game on my side view, and we know what that one is. Chris McCaffrey is on the number. He cannot lose a yard, so this is not over. I have
Jesus
been,
Christ.
I have Matt Fitzpatrick at under 1.5 majors as well. I think he's a world class player. He's become um, really well rounded and a better player than I ever thought he'd be. I do think it was his one moment, and I hate saying that a guy that's under 30. I just don't know how his game translates to like a Masters and a PGA. Maybe there's an Open where he could figure out a way to win. And it's kind of where I land on Fitzpatrick. Um, Next, this is always one of the most fun guys to debate. Um, Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth has won 3 majors. He won the 2015 Masters. He won the 2015 U.S. Open, and he last won the 2017 Open when he literally just pulled stuff out of his ass on the back nine. Jordan Spieth is 30 years old. I have his over under set at 3.5 majors. Zach, you're up.
I think he's going to win another one. Another guy that's just kind of cool as a cucumber a lot of the time and knows how to win them. Obviously, was on a tear when he was younger. I made some comments stating that I think he's going to win more than Rory back then, and I still don't know that I disagree with that. I would have thought he'd have been ahead of him by now, and then he kind of went through that lull. But if you're going to say that he has to win one more, and I have to bet, I'm going to take that he's going to win one more. Most of these guys, if you tell me they're going to have to win one more, I'm going to say that they're going to win one more. They're too good. It's hard for me to say they're not going to win one more.
Sure. I want to talk about that in a second. Johnny, I want you to go first. Over under 3.5.
God damn it. I was hoping you wouldn't call on me on this one. Jordan winning one more. I want to believe it so bad. And I would, if I had to bet it, I would bet it on the over just so I could root for him. And I really do think he'll win another green jacket at some point. I think he's got one more in him. But if my bankroll, if I'm concerned about that, and it's not just a fun bet, I'm I'm gonna bet the under. Sorry, Jordan.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, Jordan. He just
Oh,
yeah, and I'm hoping he just one real quick. I hope he proves me wrong because, but he's shown though over the last couple of years that he just can't put 72 holes together, whether it's a PGA Tour event or whether it is a major championship. And he plays a lot of great golf, but this is kind of who Jordan is. And if he gets back to where he's making every 25 footer that matters, like he did for that year or two stretch, I mean, then yeah, he will win. But I mean, you can't really bank on that. And he's real crooked with the driver, and he hit the ball great last year with his irons. His approach game was pretty good, and his putting was just, he gets a little bit stubborn with that in his set in his ways, and he's a good putter. That's why. But
yeah.
I want to believe it, but for the sake of the podcast, I'm going to bet the under.
Can you imagine winning three majors by 24 and then going 0 for the next 20 years or so?
No,
That's basically what you're saying. Um,
that's what I'm saying.
is 3.5 the right number? I mean, I think it's the right number, right? I mean, we're just at the point now is Spieth going to win another major? It's not it's a bit of a foreshadowing. It's kind of where I'm at with Rory, where his number is going to be. Um, I have Spieth over 3.5, and I don't feel good about it at all for a lot of the reasons Johnny outlined. Like he just hits it into places that no other top players do. A couple times a tournament, and you guys know in majors that you just can't afford to do that kind of stuff. He also has developed this liability with 4 footers. I trust him much more over a 12 footer than if it's a four
Yeah,
footer. I am nervous. I am really nervous, and I don't want to call it yips, but it's just like we've seen him miss a lot in those last 2 3 years. Um, Augusta always sets up great for him. Still plays it great. Um, I just can't. I can't. To me, it's like 2 majors a year for Jordan because I just don't see how he wins a U.S. Open or PGA with how his game is constructed and how these golf courses they're rolling out for the Opens and PGA are now. So to me, it's the Masters of the Open that it's the only ones I could see him pulling off. But I do think he bags one somewhere down the next 2 3 4 years, and it would be great because I think we all love Spieth. But I didn't think we'd be here with him after that
no,
2017
not,
Open. I mean,
not at
it's
all.
yeah, you just kind of think these guys aren't going to lose majors after they go on a run, and then they can't win them. And Rory said it great when he said he feels like he's trying to win his first one again because it's been that long.
Yeah.
And Zach, I know. So I wanted to follow up. You mentioned, you know, you said over on Spieth because these guys gotta pick them off, right? There's just all these guys though that Nikolai Hogard won today, and he's another European player that's I think he's 22, and he's got all the talent in the world. And there's so many of these guys. There's Ludwig Aberg or Abear, and there's
A bear.
a bunch of American guys that I have in a category later on that have zero. It's hard to anticipate who's going to be these guys that take the next step to become top 5 players that are gonna. It's going to be harder and harder the older these guys get, especially Rory in his mid 30s already. Um, and we can talk about that as we go forward here, picking names off. Next, I have Victor Hovland next on the list. Victor Hovland currently has
Ooh.
zero major wins. Um, Victor is 26 years old. He is arguably the best player in the world right this second. I don't know if anyone would disagree with that, or at least he's in that foursome that we look at. Um, not a great major record until the last 4 or 5 majors. I have his over under set at 1.5 majors. Johnny.
I'm gonna take the over on that one. I was thinking two. I was thinking two. He'll be able to snipe two. I think he's just that good. He's learning how to play good golf at big time events, and he's getting himself in the mix more and more. And I think he as long as he works to peak his game for the four major championships, I gotta think that at some point within his career in the next 18 to 20 years that he can win two of those. I think if you put it at 2.5, I would probably bet the under. But he showed, I think you would agree, but I think he showed both of us a lot with, traditionally having a bad short game, a really kind of scary short game, and he's turned it into being average, at least at worst an average chipper of the golf ball. And he puts so good, and he makes so many birdies, and he hits so many good iron shots. And
Mhm.
I think he had that coming out party when he won Memorial this year, and ended up getting hot in the playoffs and everything. I think that he's going to win here soon, and I'm predicting two.
Zach, where are we at?
Oh, over for sure. He's going to win more than two. His attitude is really kind of the best part of his game. He's kind of got that Northern European cool swag, So, yeah, I mean, for him, I think he's definitely over 1.5.
It'd be hard to say right this moment to say under with how well he's playing and the big tournaments he won in the second half of the year. So I'm with you guys. I'll go over. Johnny, I
So
think
so okay. Well, I just want to. Oh, were you going on about Victor? I had one more question to ask you about.
I was just going to say you said it best with his short game
Yeah,
that he's made just a substantial weakness, at least average, where now it's not going to hurt him.
yeah,
It didn't hurt him this year, and his game is so great everywhere else that he doesn't have a huge liability out there. And majors tend to find what you're bad at, and they really kind of make it shine. It's kind of crazy. Whatever you're not good at, it shows up the most during a major tournament. So okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, what I was going to ask you is I think the bigger question with Victor is there's 16 major championship rounds next year in 2024. The over under is set at, we'll say, over under 11 and a half terrible outfits that he will wear.
I thought
He
it
will
was
have
gonna.
to wear.
Jesus, I thought it was gonna be like a DraftKings bet. It was already out there, like in the book, like over under, like
Oh no, 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 no.
Jesus Christ.
Couple babies. No, he just, and the funny thing is he could care less. He just cashing checks and playing, making birdies. That's about all he cares for. But
Yeah, at least he said that, right? Like he put it out there, like I wouldn't wear this if I wasn't paid.
yeah, and
He,
I think they asked him one time as he was finishing around, walking down the steps after the score table, and he was just like, "Tell whoever, I don't give a shit
yeah,
what
it,
anybody says."
some
Okay,
of them have gotten to the it's so bad it's good.
yeah,
I
I don't
really
mind it. It's just something different. It's just
very
too
different.
many. There's for the last, it's different now, but yeah, style
Yeah,
was very bland.
not Richard Bland, just Bland. Next, oh, one of our favorites, probably maybe the favorite guy of all three of us, I think, Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas has two majors. He won the 2017 PGA. He also won the 2022 PGA last year. Um, sorry, I'm getting Justin Thomas's age here. I think I know it, but I have to just double check. Justin Thomas is 30 years old. I have his over under set at 3.5 majors. Zach, where are we at with JT? By the way, biggest slump of JT's career. He's he's in the middle of it somewhere. Maybe he's emerging from it, but that's where we're at right now talking about JT. So this is tough to decipher at this moment in his career.
This one's hard. This is the hardest one so far for me.
And by the way, when we did
I'm gonna,
this 18 months ago, the number that Zach set for us was 3.5. So we're still right at the same number,
yeah,
I think.
I still think it's over personally. I do. I mean, he's too young. He's too hungry. Um, just another guy that cares a lot and proven that he can come from behind. He's proven that he can win from ahead. So I'm gonna say over to everybody, but
Except Matt
over
Fitzpatrick.
for
Oh,
yeah.
that guy.
And well, I mean, I do like him. I just every person you've said so far has, other than him, has a specific power that they have that I think Fitzpatrick's more of kind of like a well-rounded guy. I think Fitzpatrick could, if he wins another one, it's going to be like I think a tournament that's won at like even or over par, where he kind of grinds his way to out not mistaking everybody, which in its own right is fantastic. I mean, that's a great way to win a golf tournament. But if we're basing, I would have to put my money on power and somebody winning the tournament instead of, I guess that's a way of winning the tournament. But uh, I would say over for JT at 3.5, and it's completely possible that he doesn't win another one. But if I was to bet, I would say over.
What major fits him best? I mean, I obviously the PGA. I mean, that's where he's had the most success. I guess outside of the PGA, I mean, what is it? We always think the Masters, but he really shit the bed there the last couple of years. He's never contended in an Open. U.S. Open, I really can't remember him contending in one.
Other than Aaron Hills and when he shot,
Aaron Hills, yeah.
you know, at the Greater Milwaukee U.S. Open. So three and a half
I
was the
would I
number.
would say the Masters. The Masters is his best opportunity other
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
the PGA.
Yes, 3.5. Where are you at, Johnny?
I'll probably go. I'm going to go above it just because of his age, but he's going to have to. He's going to have to fire his dad as the swing coach, and he's going to have someone else look into his game a little bit, especially his short game. Mostly, it's the putter that seems to be the worst there. I mean, his long game is pretty damn good.
His driver's really fallen off though too.
It has, and I know, that's it'd be a tough discussion to have and everything like that, when your dad's been your only teacher and everything like that. But I think he just needs a different look. I liked when he went to Jim Mackay as his caddy. That's something that's working itself out and everything like that. But I think he's too good. He's legitimately too good not to figure out a way to get hot and win two more in the next 15 years, 12 to 15 years. It's just you got to find a way to get to two. Now I don't know if he's going to win. I wouldn't say any more than that, if at all. But I think a U.S. Open is probably his best chance. But you know, there is that propensity for errors and getting too precise with golf shots and missing greens totally and trying to get real exact on putts and missing putts. So it's just like, it's just a tough all around thing. I think he gets in his own way sometimes. And so I think he just needs to kind of reset with a lot of different things in his golf game.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen a couple encouraging finishes in the fall. Just last week, on the World Tour, nice finish. Out of Napa before the Ryder Cup, he played well. Um, he's almost completely lost my trust. And I know because he just won one 6, 7 majors ago, but I don't know. I mean, I think that on one hand, and then the other hand, where I think nobody wants it more than him. Like I really think he wants to be the best player in the world and wants to win all these majors. So I don't know where I stand, but I think I'm going to fall on the under JT, and I can't believe I'm saying it. And I'd be disappointed
Wow.
if he ended up with less than 3.5. But there's just not enough there to make me feel optimistic and confident he's going to bag 2 majors in the next 10 years. Um, he's largely been on tour for 10 seasons and he's got two. And one of them one of them he basically had a 1% chance on the front nine at the 22 PGA. And it took 6, 7 guys choke. I'm going to channel my Johnny Miller and Paul Zinger, but just choking it, really. If Mito Pereira makes any kind of good swing or good decision on the 18th tee, JT doesn't win the major.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. JT is going to end up with less than 3.5 majors. Next on the list is as of right now, arguably the greatest majors player of our generation, Brooks Koepka. Brooks has won 5 majors: the 2017 U.S. Open, 2018 U.S. Open, the 18 and 19 PGA, and the most recently the 23 PGA. A lot of questions around Brooks always, no matter what. Before he won the 23 PGA, it was can he get back? Can he win? And then he does. And um, before that it was injuries. Pretty injury prone guy, it seemed like, but this is as healthy as he's been for a few years. He's 33 years old. I have his over under set at 6.5 majors. Johnny, I'll start with you there.
He's got how many?
He's got
5. Or he's got 5, 6.5. I'm gonna go under. It just, yeah. I mean, that is like a scary bet, though, is to bet Brooks against Brooks Koepka in major championships.
Can I recite something you said at the last podcast? Sorry, you got all the one-liners. Zach
Go ahead.
set the bar at 5.5 majors for Brooks in spring of 22, and you took the under, and you said you could set this at 4.5 majors. I would take the under. Brooks Koepka winning majors. Yeah, that whole thing is done with.
I didn't say that. Well, I mean, in my defense, he was very, very, very not healthy, and I wasn't sure. It was looking at that time.
It's
It was
just fun
looking.
to give you shit now.
I know. Wow,
Zach,
I even gave you the book a better number and took the under. That's even
yeah,
better there. But
you took the alternate
um,
line.
I think I think he could win another one, which I thought you were going to give me 5.5, and I was still going to go with the under. But if you're going to give me a one major buffer to win this bet, I would bet the under, but wouldn't doubt that he would win again. But I mean, after Augusta this last spring, when he was healthy and everything, and went toe to toe with John Rahm for almost the entire round, it was or the entire tournament. It was like, okay, this guy is back, and when he's healthy, and then just bullied everybody at the PGA. So you know what, I'm going to bet the under, but I'm going to say he does win another one at some point.
You haven't finished at 6.
Him finishing at 6, which
Yeah,
is one of the best of all time. I mean,
for sure. And just one of the most unique careers with the
yeah.
major wins versus the lack of PGA Tour wins. Zach, where are you going to fall in this one? Over or under 6.5?
I give too many majors away. Uh, uh, I think he won 7 personally, so I'm gonna say over. I think he's gonna
Wow.
end up with more than anybody on the list that we talk about when it's done with. Whether that's 7 or 8, but I do think it's the only thing that motivates him. I mean, he does have a kid now, so that could hurt him, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's the only thing that motivates him. He doesn't care about anything other than the majors, and it's the
Right.
same way that Tiger honestly felt about it, and it's the same way that Jordan honestly felt about basketball. Is everything didn't really matter until you got to the playoffs. So people with that attitude, I have trouble betting against. I have trouble obviously betting against everybody, but uh,
You're
I have
so
trouble betting
optimistic.
against
You're
them.
so positive. Yeah.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. Well, I bet if we go over mine, most of mine are going to say over, and most of your guys are going to say under. So
Zach, do you know how many players have won more than 7 majors in
I know that
history?
I believe that the number is below 10, undoubtedly. I would say
Yes,
six, maybe.
it is 6. There's 6 guys that have won 8 or more. Tom Watson, Gary Player, Ben Hogan, Walter Hagen, Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus. So Brooks Koepka, you have him finishing up with the 7 most majors in history of golf. It's not far fetched at all. That's why I set the number where it was, where he's at now, 5 majors at age 33. Um, the key is he's got the exemption to play them the next few years as a live player. That's important. Um, it was like vintage Brooks at the PGA this year when he got the lead, and you kind of felt like he just had a stranglehold on the tournament from Saturday onward, and that felt like 2017, 2018 Brooks. So now that we've seen that he can do it, that gives you confidence that it's still in there. And like you said, as long as he's in reasonable form at the time of these 4 events a year, I have no doubt he can win one more. I'll settle on
He
the under.
he
I'm
should have 7 right
going to settle on the under 6.5. I have him settle in some at 6 as well. Um, it does feel like maybe he should win a Masters. He's been really close 2 times. Uh, might be fun to see him win that one. Um, yeah, that's the guy. That's the benchmark right now, and he's setting the bar. Next, I have John Rahm on my list. John Rahm has 2 majors. He won the 2021 U.S. Open and the Masters last spring. Um, currently, John Rahm is he's 27. He's 29. 29 years old. I have the over under for John Rahm majors set at 4.5. Zach Fitzgerald, John Rahm majors over under 4.5.
I'm going to take the under, although I think he's going to win more than that. But I would take the under on this. I think that 2 is fair to be able to safely bet that he's going to win. 3 more is hard. I think that's the most that you've made anybody win to hit the number. So um, you're kind of getting more at the numbers where it's hard for me to just assume that on Raw Town alone they're going to be able to win 3 more. So I would take the under on that.
One's really tough.
That's
Really
a
tough.
good. This is a good
That's a
number.
great number.
Like I was hoping you would take. I would hope you would give me 5.5 because I would have. I'm thinking 5. 5
Okay.
was like the number. I just think the guy is. I mean, he's so good that they're all so good, but he's that much better when he's playing good. And it's hard not to go off of the I guess the recency bias of how we played this 2023 season and won the Masters and everything. I'm I'm, I'm thinking 5, and I don't know which majors he'll win. Again, I don't know what, but I think he can kind of play anything. I didn't think
Yeah, he sets up good everywhere. Yeah.
and that's why I think that as long as he's hitting the ball well and he's got a putter that he feels comfortable with, that he putted great with at the beginning of the year. And I know he kind of tailed off and everything, but he played a lot early in the season and rode that good play and everything. But 5 stuck with me earlier this season. So that's going to be my prediction. And I don't know which one he won't win because he's already got the U.S. Open. That's kind of it almost feels like I don't know if it's the hardest because it may not be. The Masters is what it is, but I don't know. It just feels like 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I set the number myself and I waffle between 4 and 5 because 4, it just seems almost not enough for how good he is, and his game it just translates to any golf course, and it seems like he's kind of figured out the mental side of it a little bit more the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
I mean, he started this year's Masters with a double bogey, um, and he goes on to win. I mean, I don't know if John Rahm from 2020 was able to do that. I'm going to quote myself on when we talked about John Rahm in spring of 2022. I believe the number was set at 2.5 majors, and I or no, it was set at 3.5 majors, and I took the under, and I said, I quote myself, I don't know what it is. I just don't know if John Rahm has it in majors. What the fuck?
Oh,
That's one of the worst things I've said on the podcast. I am gonna land at 4. I'm gonna go under, but I hate it. I'd hate it at the Masters next year if he wins. But 5 is just, it's a lot. I also think it's an interesting subplot between Rory and Rahm. I think one of them, and maybe it's going to be both of them, but I think there's this competition to be the greatest European player. I think probably
yeah.
largely Sevi has that unofficial title. Um, I I think he's the guy. I guess Nick Faldo might be. It's probably one of those. It's 1A, 1B situation. Um, but I think there might be this quest for Rory and Rahm to get to that 6 major mark, 7 major mark, and to be kind of known as the greatest European golfer ever. Um, and who knows, maybe that's not a thing, but I think it's worth monitoring over the next few years. Rahm's 6 years younger than Rory, a couple majors behind, but man, Rahm seems motivated, and he talks a lot about focus on the majors. He passed up TGL, I think, just to have more rest for the big tournaments. And he just seems to have unlocked something that apparently I never thought he would unlock 18 months
Not
ago.
last year.
Nope. Next, I have Scotty Scheffler on the list. Um, Scotty Scheffler has won one major, the 2022 Masters. Um, Scotty is playing out of his mind, especially this year, tee to green. 27 years old. I have his over under set at 3.5 majors. Um, when we did this last year, Zach set it at 4.5, which seems kind of rash considering he just won his first. Um, Johnny said, I don't know if we'll ever see Scotty play this kind of golf in his career again. I think he did that in 23, although we know he underachieved at least from a winning standpoint. Zach, where are you at with Scotty? Over under 3.5?
Under. Does not put well enough. Does not put well enough. Um, I think we all know that they, there's certain players that we talk about on this that you two are very bullish on, and I'm not. I do like him. I think
Will's outsourced.
he's a great player. I like him as a person. I don't think he's great for golf. So, but I can't give everybody an over, and he's getting it on. So, I do think he'll win another one undoubtedly. But I do not think he'll win another two, or I don't think he'll win another three for sure. So, but I do think I said for sure that's a terrible thing to say, but
Yeah.
then that gets brought up on a podcast in 18 months from now when he has six. But so I would go under. That's a lot. Three more. That's a lot.
Zach, I didn't write your name down as saying anything ridiculous. So it was apparently just Johnny and I.
I mean, I say enough ridiculous shit, not on camera. So
Johnny, 3.5. What do you got
Uh,
for Scotty?
I'm gonna I'm gonna nuke the under on this one. I don't think he's ever gonna win another major. I think I
What?
think his
Whoa,
putting,
whoa.
yeah, I don't think he's ever going to win another major. I just don't
Holy
think he's
shit.
going to win. Now next, after mid-April next year, we can revisit this when he's probably going to win another green jacket. But he is that bad of a putter, and it's one of those things that,
But is he though? Is he
yeah,
that bad?
yeah,
Because he wasn't
yeah.
that bad his first couple years on.
Mhm.
He was.
I don't think, I bet you he was, and from every time I watched him, that's why I personally never, I always liked Scotty because I always thought he was a pretty good player. I never bet the guy because he couldn't putt. He was always a really good ball striker. Then he became, having one of the best ball striking seasons in the history of the world last year, and still really couldn't win much for a good chunk of the year. I mean, he hit the ball well enough where you'd think he could win 3 times, 4 times. And I know this is different than 10 years ago on tour, when if you did hit it that way, you could get away with it and win 3, 4, 5 times a year. But it's just the putting. It's just, I think that streak that he had was an anomaly for him, where he just putted well for a good 2 month, 3 months stretch. I don't even know how long it was. I mean, it was a long time. It was a good sustained run, and I know that he won. He won Phoenix last year. He defended that and everything like that. But I have
He won
no.
the players too this year,
He did win the player,
and he
so yeah,
didn't. He
okay,
didn't
two.
putt well there, and he won by like 5.
Yeah, I know, but
I'm gonna fight you a little bit on this one because
that's fine.
oh, go ahead,
No, go ahead. No, 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 please.
please. I'm I've you've been on this podcast a lot, and I'm flabbergasted. I'm gonna use that word. By you stating definitively he's not going to win another major. I'm astonished because to me, his ball striking is just so superior. I mean, even to the best guys, it's just that much better. And I just don't believe he's going to putt that poorly again like he did last season. Sure, I don't think he's going to putt like he did maybe ever again, like he did in the spring of 22 when he won 4 times in however many starts. But I just don't think he's going to putt that badly again. And I trust that his ball striking is at least going to be in some of the same vicinity it was in this year. Second best ball striking year only to Tiger 2000. I mean, that's how good it was, and that's how good he is capable of hitting the ball. And unless he puts average at a major like a U.S. Open where it plays tough, I mean, I'm just going to trust that ball strike. It's at least win one more. I got him. I got him at 3. I have him ending at 3. I took the under on 3.5, but I have him winning 2 more somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I agree. No, no, you're not wrong at all by assuming, yeah, just putting average there. But I there's a lot of times last year when it felt like he needed to make putts or save around or stay in contention, and it's just not there. And I, if he could just, we've always talked about guys who hit the ball really great, just be an average putter, have, those Thursday morning times when nobody's really watching, or you got a late afternoon Friday putt to keep the momentum of making 3 birdies in a row or something like that, to post a 67 or something like that. Those are the types of putts that they're, I know they're measured in strokes gained, but there's a little bit different to them because there's a little bit more with the nerves and everything. And he has, other than that stretch of above average putting when he won all those events there, it just hasn't been there. But age is on his side. It's one of those things, he just maybe switching putters, maybe it's changing his approach. It's something, it's mental. It's not anything physical with his game. And you hope that these unreal ball striking numbers that he's had for this longest time, and hopefully he has it for a number of years, they get rewarded with major championships and a lot of wins. But there's not a whole lot of equity other than the couple of events based on the second greatest ball striking season of all time was only a players championship and an elevated event, but it wasn't much in contending for the majors or anything like that. So I don't like to root against guys, but my money, I'm betting the under, and I'd have trouble betting him to win a major ever again. And I know you're going to write this down for when we revisit this next year, so that's fine. And I'll face the music if he ends up winning. I hope he does prove me wrong, but not
And
happening.
he did contend, and I mean he was right there at the U.S. Open, the final round. I remember going to the final round. He was right. It was basically between him, Rory,
Yeah,
Fowler, and Wyndham. I just want to dispute that a little bit. Um,
okay.
I'm interested on monitoring this, and I'm going to go dig into some Scotty Scheffler putting stats year by year tonight after we get done with this. I got to look into this a little more. Um, Zach's yawning, so we got to move on here.
No,
Um,
we're okay.
Rory McIlroy is next on the list. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I skipped ahead.
Oh,
Next on the list is Bryson DeChambeau.
Mm.
Bryson has one major, that is the 2020 United States Open. Bryson is 30 years old. I have his over under a major set at 1.5. Zach, go ahead, even though I know what your answer is going to be.
I'm going to say under. I don't think Bryson's going to win another one.
I didn't expect that
Just
either.
don't, I just don't think that he is. I mean, I can't, obviously, if he has an insane day driving the golf ball, but, you know, the harder you swing, the more offline it gets. And are you going to have 4 straight days where you're connecting for 4 straight days? I don't think he will. So, no, I don't see him winning another major. I think he had the promise to be something truly special when he came out, and then he chased distance, and I think to a detriment, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, it's cool. He's popular amongst the kids and all that, and I don't dislike him in the way that I think a lot of people do, but I don't think that I don't think he's going to win another major personally.
Okay. Johnny?
I, okay. First of all, this is going to be a stay away from bet for me because I don't really know. But thinking about it though, let's just look at the live schedule. If they still are not allowed to play in PGA Tour events, I think the big thing for Bryson is you got to kind of keep his brain occupied by playing in a lot of events. I think that's where he succeeds is playing a whole bunch of golf and not worrying about doing like the YouTube videos with the long drive, ball speed, chasing that stuff, and that's where I think that's where a lot of that if he live golf play came from was his other side ventures, which were very important to him, and I think that stuff is very interesting. I'm not being critical at all of that. I think that stuff is kind of cool, and I like how he does and tries to be more relatable just to the common person, to younger people and everything like that. But I think with him, he's got to play a lot, and with Liv not offering that, and him not needing or wanting to travel to Asia and play in, those events that he's allowed to play in there, it's hard for him to get reps. And he won on the Live Tour this last season, so the game is obviously as a potential and everything like that. But I just question the off weeks with him. I hope that I think he's fascinating, and I will root for him to win again because I think he's one of the few guys in this world that when he is good at golf and succeeding and everything, that he makes things interesting, and his relevance is very, very important to the success and notoriety of golf and everything for a lot of different aspects. But betting wise, if I had to bet, yeah, I'm going to bet the over. I think he will win because I think there's going to be some sort of combination in the next 10 to 15 years that he's going to be allowed, him and the live golfers are going to be allowed to play. And I think that's going to be to his benefit. Now, in the meantime, in the next couple of years, as this is all being sorted out, I would say it's going to be a zero. And is he essentially wasting the prime, years of his life as far as being good at golf? Yeah, that's going to be the case. But I think he's got the mental ability. Obviously, he's a smart guy. He's got the mental ability to put himself in a position to succeed. I hope he does because, like I said, he makes things just a lot more interesting. Even if it's a stupid press conference or dumb answers to questions or just a horrible commercial or interview or something like that. It's just he is one of those guys that needs to be on tour and for for golf's sake, he makes golf Twitter fun because he's a good subject to talk about and very interesting. So long story, even longer. I'm not going to bet it. I would probably bet the over the course of the career because I think he'll eventually play and win. But I could see both ways though. I could see Zach, agree with him and say it could end up being no more going forward.
Appreciate that answer. I I am going to go over on Bryson. Um,
Well,
he really took apart the 2020 Open, the U.S. Open. I mean, he really did. And I know his game is maybe a little different than what it was 3 years ago. I actually think it's closer to where it was when he came out on tour.
yeah,
Like, I mean, he really played well on Live this year, from what I understood of it, and read about. I didn't see it, but it sounded like his iron game was closer to where it was in 2016, 17, 18. And he's got the major exemption from the U.S. Open. I believe that gets him through all the majors through 25, if I'm not mistaken. Um, he played really well in the majors last year. I believe it was the PGA where I think he was in the top five for most of the week. I don't know why. I have a feeling he's going to bag one. Another U.S. Open or PGA would be his best bet. I don't. I just for whatever reason the Masters isn't a great fit for him. But I just I don't know. He's a smart guy. He really studies these courses and where he can find an advantage. And I think his game it just seems like it's rounded into a nice place where he can compete in majors again. So I'm in on Bryson on the over at 1.5. This one should be a quick one, I believe. Dustin Johnson is currently at two majors. He has the 2016 U.S. Open. He has the 2020 Masters. Um, Dustin is 39 years old. I have his over under set at 2.5 majors. Johnny.
under. I love that. I love DJ. Nothing against him. All of what you said doesn't play. Unfortunately, it's going to be an under.
That
I would bet under.
yeah, sweep on that one. Definitely have Dustin on the under there as well. All right, let's get to Rory. Rory has four majors: 2011 U.S. Open, 2012 PGA, 2014 Open Championship, 2014 PGA Championship. Rory McIlroy is 34 years old. Um, I have his over under set at 4.5 majors. Zach, can Rory
Over.
win one?
Over.
Is that an appropriate number? Should it be 5.5?
5.5. 5.5
I
is the
think
number.
5.5 is a better number. I mean, I
But
don't know how
why?
you could. Well, because how could you? He has just as much talent as anybody in the world. So how could you ever bet against one more? I mean,
Because
one more
he's
is
0
is
for 30 in his last 30. That's why the number's at
sure, and he
4.5.
probably has another 30 left. So you're saying that he's gonna go 0 for 60, which percentage wise honestly does not make sense. So I'm going to play the percentages on that and say that he's far too good to not win at least another one.
Yeah.
5.5, you're probably going to get me thinking harder. I'm still probably saying over, but you're he's going to go on a tear for another like year or two because
He is
once he
he
wins
is
one,
he has absolutely been on a tear for the last two seasons.
I mean, major wise. I mean, that's obviously like the brick wall that he's hit at the moment, and the thing is Tiger won another one after like 11 years, and the difference is Tiger was a broken human being when he won that, and Rory's not broken, physically. So, um, I do think Rory, if and in my opinion, when he wins another one, I do think he's going to run off a couple. Now, I don't really like Rory anymore. If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think he needs to
We
concentrate a little bit
understand that.
more on golf and keep his mouth shut a little bit more. But that doesn't deny the fact that he's a good golfer, and if he does not win another major, it's potentially one of the biggest disappointments in golf history. So,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Okay. All right, Johnny. I assume you're on the over as well by your reaction.
Yeah, 4.5. I'm going to go over 5.5. I'd have to think about it, and I'm going to say he's going to win. Um, and I've been doing some research on this because I know this was going to be one of my more long-winded answers here, and I was like, you know what? I've heard he's listened to Zach Fitzgerald and he's going to shut his mouth. He's going to stop it.
Uh-huh.
He resigned from the player advisory council, I think is what it was, the
Yep.
tour board there. That is huge. He finally said, you know what? If you're going to negotiate this deal without and have me be the face of the tour, screw you guys. I'm just going to focus on my golf. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing. We look at all the shit that he's dealt with, whether we could say it's self-inflicted. Let's not worry about the why it's there. All the stuff that him being the face of the tour was just all the added stress and extra media attention, everything that he's not going to be like that anymore. They're going to ask him stuff this next year, and he's not going to be super pro PGA Tour. He's just going to be more concerned with his golf game and with him winning golf tournaments and with him winning major championships. So I think you're going to give him this off season here where he's going to mentally recharge his batteries. He's not going to care about all the stuff that's going on and not going to give you these beautiful answers, these well thought out answers that he's given before, and he's going to focus on his golf. And I think it's a big deal for him. I know he's talked about, it's like he has to win a major all over again, like he's never won. That is absolutely true. But you look at it and you look at his finishes from last year. He played really, really good. Played so well in the major championships. He won the race to Dubai, which is the DP World Tour Championship. Didn't even have to play in Dubai this week to win it. I mean, he had clinched the points based on his finishes in all the qualifying events there. So I predict he will win one 2025 at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland. Now the question is he going to win the Open Championship this year at Troon? I haven't decided that one yet. I don't think he's ever going to win a Masters, but I mean, you look at the PGA as well. I mean, Quail Hollow
Uh-huh.
in 2025. This year it's at Valhalla, Aronimink. I mean, golf courses that he could just take apart there. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to win like 3 more majors or anything like that, but I think he's good for one, possibly good for a second one. And I think it's just if you could find a bet, just I know if for anybody listening, if you find a bet this year, Rory McIlroy to win a major championship at like plus 400 or something like that, I'm betting that. I'm not going to bet huge on it, but I'm just that's something that I think would be I'd feel pretty comfortable with saying.
Yeah. I I I think it's this balance where he wins like three of them, or I could see him just not winning another one. Like I think once he wins one, it could, for that term, open up the floodgates. That's so commonly used. I don't know, but I could also just see like he has played so well the last two seasons, and to not get one is got to be disappointing. I just don't know how long that is a sustainable. I mean, he's played a lot. He's played well. Can he keep that up over the next couple of years? Probably because he's that good. I have it over as well. I think I like him for two more. I couldn't tell you where, but there's just so many golf courses and so many setups, major setups that play perfectly into his hands. I do like at the U.S. Open this year where he spoke less, he talked less, and it seemed to be more effective for him. Can't believe Wyndham Clark beat him. Uh, but I do think maybe he learned a little bit about kind of balancing out his involvement with all the tour matters and just try to focus a little bit more on golf. And because again, I really think he cares a lot about his legacy as a golfer as well, not just as a person. But I wrote down the last time we did this, we had it at 5.5 majors. I wrote that I said I go over 5.5 majors because it really feels like Rory has unlocked something and he's figured out this major thing going forward. Jesus.
I mean,
Kind of, but didn't win them. Figured out a way to play well in every one of them, but not win them.
yeah. But don't you think though that there's, I mean, I know he's seasoned and everything like that and played, all these majors for all these years, but you know, I think all these close calls, where he figures out that one final piece. And I'm not blaming the press conferences and saying all the stuff that he's had to deal with and everything like that. But I think a freer mind and more focused on that, maybe getting that killer instinct back when he was a younger
Right.
fella,
Yeah.
might end up being that edge that he needs, other than just hitting phenomenal golf shots all the time and not making that bogey or that bad chip or missing that 6 footer when he doesn't need to miss it.
Yeah. Agree. All right, guys. This we've gone through all the individual guys. I have 8 guys in this last category, and we're not going to go one by one because we're hitting the mark on time here. But I've basically set the line for all 8 of these guys at a half a major. I just want you to tell me if there's any one or two of them that you definitely feel like would be over the half major. I have Tommy Fleetwood, Tony Finau, Cameron Young, Sam Burns, Patrick Cantley, Xander Schauffele, and Will Zalatoris all at half a major. Is there anyone that's resoundingly an over for you, or an under, I guess, as well, Zach? And are all those lines
There's like
appropriate? Should anyone be set at 1.5? I don't know. I don't think so.
no, there's somebody you didn't say that I think is going to win a major eventually. I think Homa's going to win a major.
I said him.
So
I said him. He's in there.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear him. Homa for sure. Um,
Sure.
I think Xander probably does win a major at some point. Um, and it would be difficult for me to say that Cantlay does not win a major at some point. Um, I mean, Cameron Young has the game certainly to win a major, but again, now we're starting to talk about giving away 60 majors in a 10-year span, and that's difficult to do.
Right.
But again, the difficulty we have there, I think, is again you're asking to bet against somebody having a great week when they're all good enough to have that great week. So, like for me, I would have a little bit more difficulty. Like if we said all of them set at 1.5, can any of them is anybody above 1.5 in that situation?
Mhm.
Which I don't know if they would be, but I would say Homa. I think Xander will win one, and I think Cantlay will probably win one. It's just the one that I probably have the least confidence there is Cantlay.
Mhm.
Um, but between those three, I think the three of them are going to probably win one. Homa's the one that I hope for the most. I think Homa, if he wins a couple majors, is just fantastic for the game of golf. So,
I
and I'm
agree.
always going to hold out hope that Ricky someday does win one. But if you had to make me bet, I would say no. But I hope he does. I really do.
Yeah, I didn't even put him on the list. I saw today Max Homa's birthday, and Twitter put up a 50-minute video of his career highlights. So that's what they think of Max Homa. They love Max Homa and his
Mm-hmm.
personality and his promotion of the tour, and I think I can't think of anyone that doesn't like him. So I think it would be a universally awesome win if he can win a major. Johnny, what about you? Anyone on that list that you're resounding over or under on the half?
Well, we know. I mean, Tommy Fleetwood. I mean,
I was gonna say that's hammer the
Jesus
under.
Christ, man. I mean, unless he needs like a 63 to win and he's several back and comes from behind and posts a number. But goddamn, I mean, he
Well,
had a chance to win the DP World Tour
I know
title,
again. Yeah,
the event today, and he still played pretty good. He shot 68, but the eagle on 18 and wiped his driver. But him no, Big
I
Tone.
can I parlay? Yeah, can I parlay Fleetwood under with Finau under because
Yeah.
I would put a lot on that for sure.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think Big Tone's gonna he'll win more events and whatnot, but I just it just doesn't see it. And we don't give these guys like you got to give them credit because I mean they could all win and they just put it all together and everything like that. But I think with how important and all the attention that gets with these majors, it's tough. One guy, I mean, Cam Young, I do like him to win, and I actually do like Sam Burns um, to potentially win a major championship. I think a guy who can putt that well, um, and I think if he just it's one of the things you just got to put yourself in position to win these championships and everything. And a guy who puts that good and drives it that well, I mean, he fits the two major check boxes for the physical game as far as winning a championship or a major championship. I mean, he's won when he gets hot. He's unbelievable. He's like a lot of these guys who when they get hot like that. So
Mm-hmm.
he's a guy like yeah, Max as well. I think he's a podcast favorite. He's a fan favorite. I think he's a better golfer than his personality even. So it's just a matter of him getting over that hump, and I think that's going to be a big thing. And the guy Homa gets leads and doesn't relinquish them so much that he just has to figure out a way to get up there and get in the good draw on Thursday, Friday, and get up there. So yeah, there's some guys that could potentially, win some majors, but I think that's a pretty good list as far as appropriateness to have that 0.5 because you just never know with these new crop of golfers. I mean, there's so many good college golfers and guys
Yeah.
on the cusp that, they could be wiped off the face of the earth here. Some of these guys thinking that we're going to win a major and they hit 35 and then they're done. But Cantley and Xander, that's very interesting that you lump them in that group. I mean, we never would have done that 1 or 2 years
No.
ago, but
Right.
I don't really think so. And after the Ryder Cup and seeing how they acted and all that other stuff, it's just like, I don't think it really concerns them.
Yeah. I'm with you on Cam Young. I like that over like imagine him just striking it like he does, but having a week where he just makes putts. I think back to the Open where Brian Harman won, but Cam hit it every bit as well, if not better. He just didn't make the putts. So I do like Cam. Um, likewise on Homa, I would still lean to Cantley winning a major, but I just it just feels like when he's on, there's no weaknesses. But it's weird because you get to the first round of a major and he's shooting 74, and then he backdoors a top 10 or top 20. So I don't know when that's going to change. Um, so yeah, that's the guys I feel definitively on. Like Fleetwood, Finau, I just don't see it for whatever reason. There's this block where they cannot play at least lately their best in major tournaments, and I just don't have faith on that in them to win one in the next few years. Anything else with majors with these guys that we need to comment on? I mean, I think we pretty much took this thing apart. Um, I'm just really fascinated to see where a lot of these guys end up, where they're going to be at 3 years from now, 5 years from now with their major count, and it just feels like there's so many of these guys 10, 12, 15 guys that are competing to get to two majors, four majors, or six majors, whatever it is. That it's really a fun time as a fan to watch these, and this is why we're doing this because look, we got to check in every year, 18 months because this is literally a moving target and things change quickly. And we kind of last time we did this, we put dirt over Brooks Koepka, and he's back from the ashes, and now we're talking about him maybe winning seven. So it's just fun to always check in on these numbers for sure.
Yeah, it's
Like,
it has been quite interesting to see where we've kind of come along in 1 year, and a lot of us have recency bias, and that's how I think I picked a lot of the majors then, and that's kind of how I felt this time. But you just try to think of it like Zach has said, 10 times this podcast. There's only four. There's not many majors that they pass out each year. So, it's just one of those things that you keep looking at the numbers and you're like, you know what? Winning major championships multiple is so freaking hard to do.
And I mean, you don't account for Brian Harmon's, Wyndham Clark's, because there's a lot of guys out there that are going to
Shoot, yeah.
steal one a year or one every 2 years. That you just can't correlate that into the equation, and it's so unexpected, and it's gonna happen again. But Zach, what were you gonna say?
I would just like to mention that I never pour dirt on Brooks Koepka, and I never would have. So I just want that. I just want
Uh,
that to be stated right
Yeah,
now.
good for you. You're better
So,
than this. Yes.
no, I'm definitely not better than you guys, but I just have, and I just for some reason don't. I'll never count him out. He just has an attitude that everybody seems to dislike, but is monstrous when it comes to majors. So um, I think something that is impossible to predict and that really will be is we don't know in 5 years who's going to be coming out that's going to be the next superstar. If that's the case, we could have a guy that comes out and has a Tiger-like career that wins 7 majors in the next 5 years that we haven't even heard of yet. I mean, obviously unlikely, but it is possible. That would be cool to me. If in 5 years we're talking about a guy that's won like 7 majors in 5 years, is going to be the greatest ever. That would be awesome to me. I'm always in the boat of witnessing history, so um, I would like every single person on this list to win 10 more majors if they could, so that they could be considered one of the greatest ever. I want to see the greatest in my lifetime.
All right, boys. Appreciate your time, thoughts, and your consideration of all these numbers. And we'll have to get together the next couple of weeks to talk more of the big picture of the golf world. So happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your week, guys.
Thank you.
Happy
You too.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks for listening to Your Best Bet. We'll churn out an episode sometime here in the near future and kind of look at some other things in the golf world. Appreciate listening. Everyone enjoy your turkey day on Thursday. We'll catch you next time.